Start our project here with our first project. It's a 3D short animated film. The assets are available through the Google Drive link that's in our homework. In our file channel. You will also be receiving an email regarding the Google Drive link where to get the videos. So let's get started. Let me just kind of verify that those files are available. I'm going to double click on my Macintosh HD right here. This is where I put them. Files, and then because you'll download them, they're most likely going to be in your download section. I'm in downloads folder where those things are. So I'm going to click on 3D computer animated short film. Once I double click that, we have 3 folders here, and I'm going to go to my column right here. So each one, when I click on video files, you will see here that we'll have quite a few video files that you guys will have to watch, and that's the process. That's the logging process. All editors, this is the exciting, glorious part of being an editor, is watching all the files and studying them. All right. And then music files, we have quite a few in there. They're MP3s, and then sound effects as well. Sound effects, there's a little bit here. Keep in mind these are already curated, meaning this is probably the minimum that you'll need to complete the project. And you're welcome to add more files to this, and make sure they're royalty free or Creative Commons CC0 license. Okay, we don't want to be using copyrighted material for this because that would be illegal. Okay, so going back to the video files, these are strictly video files. They don't have any audio. You can preview this by double clicking it in Windows, or you can tap the space bar on a Mac so that you can preview it. Okay, and that's going to be all right. So this particular project, it's not really per se a very creative editing project. It's more like a technical edit. These files they're pre-edited. We just kind of mix them up. So your job here is to do a visual puzzle solving. Okay, just connect them in the order that you think best way to tell a story. Okay, in Davinci, of course. And after that, you lay in the music file and then the audio file. All right, so this lesson is not to show you how to do all that. It's just to show you how you can get started in Davinci, because you still got to make those decisions. Which sound goes, which correct sound effect goes to which part, so on and so forth, and the way you would start your video. Okay, let's go back to Davinci right here. I'm using the digital video database. Okay, I'm going to click on New Project, or I can use an existing untitled project. So there's several ways to do it. So let's go with a new project. Okay. All right. So here I'm going to put this is the 3D short animated film edit. Okay. So we could start with a rough cut, but since this is basically your first project, you'll most likely stay with the same edit, and you just back up your timeline. Timeline meaning your edit. Okay. So that's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to click Create right here. Okay, this takes us inside Davinci. All right, and then you are presented in Davinci with different modules. Okay, so you get different modules right here. You get Media, Cut, Edit, Fusion, Color, Fairlight, and then Deliver. Okay, if you look at the bookends of the module, Media and Deliver, they do very specific things. Media, this is where you import your image from the drive or a location all the way to the media pool. Okay. The other one is Deliver. This is where you export your video so that it becomes a self-contained video file or audio file, or a combination of both that you can watch or listen to. Okay. You can even go specifically to streaming sites, YouTube and Vimeo. As you know, you'll need an account for that, and then you can deliver directly to those instead of going and exporting, so on and so forth. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so now as you can see, the media, it's for importing. Okay, cut. This is like I would say fast cutting or rough cutting. We're not going to be using this because it's not very traditional in a way that, you know, you learn how to edit here and you'll be able to transfer to other editing programs. So there's a variation in there. So we're going to go to the edit module. This is more of a traditional take on editing. You get your browser or your media pool or where your files are stored. You have your browser and your timeline monitor, okay? Your source and your preview, okay? And we had your timeline right here. Okay, so this is what we'll be using. Fusion is basically, this is like Nuke or After Effects. This is a visual effects component of Davinci Resolve. Color, this is industry standard coloring and grading. So a lot of movies you've seen are most likely colored in Davinci Resolve. Okay, so this is where we style and do some, in a way, some visual effects that you can do here. Tracking and all that good stuff. Fairlight, think of this as Pro Tools. So it's the direct competition for Pro Tools. And it's here, it's all free. It's quite amazing what Blackmagic Designs did with their program. The point of having all these programs per se all in one location is it prevents you from doing round tripping, right? Traditionally, you would go to Premiere, then export round trip, go to import that video that you exported into Pro Tools, do all your sound, and then come back, you know, to Premiere, basically a round trip. So this eliminates all that because you're just staying in one program. All right. So let's go to our edit to kind of get started. But before that, media, since we got to import. Okay. So this is basically the media pool. This is like the sorting table. Think of it that way. Everything here would be related to your computer's drive. Okay. If you can't find the location where your files are, because the default one, you know, it's very minimal. It only has movies right here. Mine is on the Macintosh HD. I might actually have to transfer those somewhere in order to actually access them. But let's say your files are in the downloads or movies or whatever, and they're not in here, simply add that location. So right click anywhere in the empty area over here, add new location. Then it will ask you where those things are. Okay, mine is on the Macintosh HD files, and then 3D computer short film. So in order for me to quickly access those, I can also put just Macintosh HD. If I pick that, and then I can have Macintosh HD and have access to this. But I'm just going to put files right here because that's where mine are, right? So let's say, just for the sake of example here, I'm going to put downloads, okay? So if you click downloads, most of you will probably have them on downloads. So downloads, click open, and it adds that location. So if I click that, anything that's video or media type files pertaining to editing, they'll show up in here, okay? So I have nothing in there other than some program I downloaded for 3D, but they're not showing because they're not media files, they're data files, okay? So let's add that file location I was talking about. So add new location, go to files right here, okay? This is where I store my file. Again, wherever you store those, external drive or whatever, that's what you have to do, and you have to select that location, okay? And I would suggest that you don't pick that very specific location for that project. Select the folder that holds all your media files, okay? Or most of your media files. You don't want to go per project, then this thing will be convoluted later on. There's going to be too many things. So files, I'm going to click open. All right, when I go to that files, there you go. I see that I have a recording right here that I did previously for the database, and then here it is, the 3D computer animated short film. Okay, so this is the previewing part. Part of our lesson is that we mentioned that there's a certain amount of hours that production produce per 1 hour of video. So by Hollywood standard or big blockbuster movies, it's quite a lot. You know, it's 20 hours per 1 hour edited footage. That's a lot of hours of watching. So your job is to first, you know, double click, you know, to access those files, and then you would watch this. Again, they don't have any audio, they're just videos here. And you would watch this simply by sliding the timeline right there, or clicking play, and then dragging the playhead, you know, so you can preview them. Again, this project is simply a visual puzzle. You have to watch and then put it in order, basically. Okay, no need to even trim any of this because they're it's pre-edited. Okay, it's just kind of scrambled, and your job is just to kind of put it together. Okay, so normally you would preview this one at a time, and then you'll decide which one makes it into the media pool. And you do that, let's say, for example, this three, and they made it, you want to use them for editing, you simply click and drag them right here, and they get added to the media pool. When you do that, they all join the main master bin right here, okay? A bin is simply a folder. We call it bin because back in the day, we put in film bins, the film reels. That's where you store them. So now we don't use that. We use digital stuff. So we still call them bins, but technically it's a folder, okay? So we have those they're on the master bin. So I don't recommend you just simply grab this. Normally we would pick, but there's no need to pick. Like I said, this is already a pre-edited one, so you would want all of these actually drag into the media pool. But we don't want to do that. We just want to make bins inside the master bin so that then you can have all this kind of separated. You can do this before and after. You can import everything and sort everything after that, but in my opinion, it makes it harder because you're dealing with too many files at that point. So at this point right here, we would want to add those bins. So under the master bin, okay, we would click on new bin, and then we're going to call this one video files. It's kind of mimicking whatever's on top right there. Video files, all right? So what happens then is that if I select all this, all right, I can drag a rectangle to select all of them, or I can just highlight one. If you're in Windows, it's Control A. If you're in a Mac, it's Command A to select all. So I did select Command A, and then simply drag them into the media pool right here, and they're now in the video file bin, okay? What this means is like when I go to edit, they show up in here now. It used to be blank, okay? Let's go back here. Again, the top part of this is simply your hard drive and you're watching videos. The bottom part belongs to the editing in Davinci. Until you drag it down here, you won't be able to see it in the edit, okay? So let's make another bin. We're going to call this one music files. Again, trying to mimic whatever's on top right there. Music files. Okay, make sure I'm the music file. There's nothing in there. Remember, video files there is, music files none. Music files right here. There's only quite a few. Okay. Okay, and then preview. Final boss. All right, so kind of ominous sound. All right, so I'm going to select all those. Command A on a Mac. Control A in Windows, or you can just simply click and drag. Drag them in here. There they are. Another one, new bin. Call this one, I'm just going to call this one SFX, sound effects files, okay? Kind of simplify that. We have quite a few. All right, so enjoy for listening to all this. Some ambient noise, some louder, some explosion, so on and so forth. So again, normally you would spend hours searching for this and whatnot. We pre-searched for you and curated sound files that we think you'll be able to use. All right, so we want to use all this. Command A, Control A, click and drag, and that's it. We're done with all of this. Okay, so we have now selected all the assets that we want to use for our edit, and they're all in here. Okay, so what we can do now is to save our file so that all this, so you don't have to redo in case you crash and you're not able to save. So simply go to File, Save Project As, or Save Project, doesn't matter. I'm going to click on Save Project. All right, and that one's done. Okay, but before we proceed, let's take a look at some preferences that are super important in Davinci. Okay, so I'm going to go to Davinci Resolve here and click on Preference. The same thing on a Windows machine. Okay, click on Preferences, and then we're going to go to our I think we go to our General right here. Okay, and then let's not worry about that. Let's just go to the User. Okay, this is where it's more important. Okay, so we go to Project Save and Load. All right, so right here under User, because you switch to User right there, Project Save and Load, you want to make sure that you're doing a live save and project backup in case you they're tiny. Don't worry. So these things, they accumulate over time, of course, And you can clean those up because it tells you the backup location where they're going to be, okay? But what this one does, it performs backup for you in case something catastrophic happens. Live save also, I'm not really sure what is the last time it will save it. I mean, I think before you crash, I think maybe 15-second increment, but I mean, it happened before and we pretty much didn't lose anything on the last edit. So it's important that these two fields are checked, okay? And click save. That way it does a live save. So you crash, you can recover from it, okay? So now we can proceed into the edit panel or module, and our video, music, and sound effect files are all listed right here. There's several ways to kind of preview this. This is on thumbnail right now. You can do list mode as well, so you can go much smaller, but you don't get to preview the video. Okay, so that's totally up to you, however you want to do it. Okay, so let's take a look at the interface here real quick. Everything here can be turned on and off, and it'll be slightly highlighted. If you notice here, media pool versus effects library, media pool, it's a little bit highlighted right there. Effects, it's a little bit grayed out. So are all the options that are not being used. Okay, so if I, let's say, double click this file here, okay, and then I click inspector right here, okay, inspector pops up, and nothing to expect because it's only inspecting stuff in the timeline, but as you can see, it brings up its own space, and it kind of minimizes the other space. So it's just basically on and off. Metadata, same thing, okay? And of course, you can get your audio mixer down here. So anything that you don't want to see, you can turn off in Davinci. So later on, let's say you're done dragging files into the timeline, you no longer want to see your media pool, you can simply click media pool and it goes away. You get more space to do your editing in the timeline, okay? But we do want that right now. Sound library, this is also important. We can turn this on and you get tons of Davinci Resolve sound library that you can download. Okay, I'm not going to do that right now because it will activate that, but I do suggest if you have the space, please do that. Quite important. Okay, effects library, this is where you get your transitions, titles, and whatnot, and then of course to the media pool. As you can see here, if I turn on effects library, it kind of cuts it off right here and it pops up, and we don't need that right now. We can turn that off. Okay, just remember everything can be turned on and off. So if we are logging, if you haven't done all your logging in the media tab or module, you can do it right here. So you can simply double click any of this and they show up in your preview monitor. All right, so think of this as your, let's say, browser monitor, and when you're where you're able to preview all the sound and all the video, you can then start your rough cut. Okay, so let's say you start your file with this, you can drag it into the timelines. By simply dragging it, it activates the video and the audio layer. You can put it on layer 2 later on once you have a video 1 active right there. You can just simply drag it. So this is just kind of click and drag. Okay, again, your job is to put this in order to make sense, right? So how do we zoom in and out right here? Quite easy. You have your plus and minus right here, so you can just simply minimize, maximize, or zoom in, zoom out. Okay, so if I, let's say, add one right here and then I put a little gap, you can pan right here to kind of advance to the next one. All right, so what I need to do here is, let's say I want to do a 3-point edit. I want to swap the location for this, so I can go up here, go like so, then select this one, move it right there, move this one down here. Snapping is on by default. Link video and audio is on by default. And voila, so on and so forth. Okay, Shift and Z, as in zebra, shows all. Okay, you can also zoom out like this, and then Shift plus Z, or Z if you're British or Canadian. Okay, toggle Shift Z toggles previous magnification to magnify all or zoom all. So your zoom will be one of the tools that you would be using a lot. Okay, and there's several varieties of zoom: detail zoom, okay, full extent. Basically, that's shift Z I was talking about. Here you can drag specific area that you want to zoom, but stay with this one because it's your more like traditional kind of zoom. Okay, so let's just use that for now. All right, and then your job is to kind of build the puzzle. Okay, don't forget to save, of course. Even though we have live saved, it's a good habit. All right, so let's say you're done with your edit right here. Next one would be, only when you're done with your video would you even consider adding your sound, right? Music, however, creates the mood that would help you with your story. But let's say you already previewed your music and you kind of know which one to put in there, right? Suggestion is that don't touch audio until you're done with the video edit. Okay, so let's say I want to put serious right here, so I can just simply click and drag this down here on the audio 2 layer. Okay, let's say I click on show all and then tap the space bar. Terrible edit because I just dragged that in there. All right, there's that sound. Okay, so how do you make this shorter? So all videos, can't extend this because that's the maximum it is. There is to it. You can extend audio and video by simply clicking and dragging the ends right there. So I can just make that shorter and also grab this from the beginning. Okay, I can move this around with the mouse. Okay, so trimming is simply dragging the ends inwards and outwards. There's several ways to trim, but we'll go detailed lesson with that. So this is more like a crash course right now, so just to get you guys started. Okay, so let's say that's sound, right? Terrible, but sample. Next, we want to do. All right, that sounds annoying. Okay, we'll use it. Okay, so double click it. After previewing it, you can put it in here on a new layer. Okay, and then you can also Command C to copy or Control C in Windows, Command C on a Mac. Command C and then Command V. Command V. Command V to paste. And let's watch it. Super annoying now. We got that weird, I don't know what that is. It says Primeval. All right, you get the point. All right, so when do you actually do the sound? All right, so first, when you were putting all this together, the video, that's called rough cutting. But once you're able to figure out, it's almost like a final cut, because like I said, this is already pre-edited. You're simply assembling this so that you have like a visual puzzle. Okay, so only then should you even worry about sound, because here's the thing. You spend 2 hours putting all this sound and you decided to change this order. That will ruin your music. That will ruin your ambient sound. So all that work that you put in there for your audio, it's all redo. Okay, you basically wasted time. That's why don't mess with sound until you have decided that your video is on a lockdown, or what we call final cut. So rough cut to final cut. Only then would you do your audio. Okay, so we will end this demo right here. This should get you started on how to drag files into the timeline and what each of this monitor represents, and a little bit about the overall kind of basic interface of Davinci, at least on the edit module. And this will end our lesson.